focuses on institutional finance and credit to the fisheries sector. Availability of adequate credit at a reasonable cost is critical to ensure the growth and development of aquaculture sector. While the KCC provides some working for aquaculture farmers, entrepreneurs need to be further supported for their working capital requirements by banks and lending institutions. This session will discuss the ways and means to enhance the credit flow to the sector and further facilitate easy disbursement of funds to eligible entrepreneurs. To this very important session, we have with us Mr. Rajesh Srivastava, Member CII National Council on Agriculture and Food Processing and Executive Chairman, Rabo Equity Advisors. We also have with us a very eminent lineup of speakers. We are very pleased to have with us Mr. Sagar Mehra, Joint Secretary, Inland Fisheries, Department of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying. We also have Dr. P. Selvaraj, General Manager of Strategic Planning and Product Innovation Department, NABARD, Mr. Arpan Bhalero, Chief Growth Officer, AquaConnect, Mr. Anil Kumar, SG, Founder and CEO, Samunnati, Mr. Jyotish Talukdar, Director, Kalong Kapili Cooperative Society, Assam, Mr. Roy Hoya, CEO, Partner and Owner, Lighthouse Finance, Norway. With this, may I now request Mr. Srivastava to please take the session forward.
Thank you very much, and a very good afternoon to all of you, ladies and gentlemen, and to also my distinguished panelists. How pleased I am to have all of you on this dais together, and actually speaking such a wide variety, what a diversity. And I think if this session can't handle and can't address the issues of institutional credit flow to this sector, then I don't think we have a better structured session. So let me put a few facts into perspective. I think we produce something like 10 million metric tons of aqua produce, valued at $17 billion worth of fishes and shrimps. I think the challenge is that 90% of this comes from small and medium farmers, which may be very opposed to what the developed world sees actually speaking. And obviously, there are very big impediments to channelizing the flow of credit and institutional finance to this segment for two reasons. One is the lack of very credible data. And the second thing is the lack of the risk assessment appetite of the bankers and the financiers. Because honestly speaking, this hasn't developed over time. Once again, this is not very new to the Indian agriculture scenario. I think the lack of formal credit flow is there in almost every subsector of Indian agriculture. So fisheries and aquaculture is no different. The only thing is, I think it gets further compounded because of the fact that they may be smaller farmers and they may be a more travail of the weather and the problems at sea, literally, no pun intended, because obviously the wet catches and all and the wet markets, they play their own problems. So I think with these words and a bit of a context setting, may I have the privilege of introducing Dr. Selvaraj, who's the Chief General Manager of NABARD, in a little bit more detail, I think, just to give a bit of a color. Actually, he's a multicolored personality, so it's difficult, but I'll try nevertheless. I think if you look at Dr. Selvaraj, he's a doctorate in fisheries sciences from Guwahati University. He's an MBA in human resources. He's a CAIIB, which is a banker's degree. He's a certified bank trainer by IIBF, member of several national institutions, national associations. He's been writing articles, speaking in various forums, and the two national awards which NABARD got for best case studies are also were also held by him. So the other thing which I really enjoyed, we had a pre-call yesterday, that he has a very affable personality, and he comes across as somebody who can easily cut across all hierarchies with his very, very good humorous touch. And he's a very keen listener and a good speaker, good orator. So I won't take too long between him and the audience. I think just one small request, Dr. Selvaraj. I know you're going to have some slides, but please do cover the financing support which NABARD can extend through the RIDF and the FIDF for infrastructure in this subsector of the Indian agriculture. And I've always been very enamored with RIDF, how it works. So please do educate us. Thank you very much, Dr. Selvaraj.
Good afternoon to everybody, respected Rajesh Jasriwata Saab, Joint Secretary Mr. Sagar Vaira Saab, and Arun and Anil Kumarji and Jyotish Dalittar, and we are an expert from Lighthouse Finance Norway. Very good afternoon to all of you, and first of all, I congratulate CAE for conducting this excellent seminar in a very timely manner. And I thank our chairman, Dr. Chindala, for giving me an opportunity to talk to this forum also. Friends, in fact, I'll share my slide. 2 minutes. Madam, can you share, ma'am? Yeah, next. This is a basic introduction. From the morning talk also, India is a country where a lot of potential is there. We have a lot of scope for doing more of inland aquaculture because our marine side is almost fully exploited. Next slide. This is, I will not spend time on these potentials. This is the area where the last 4 or 5 years, this fishery sector is getting a lot of importance with the new ministry formed, NFDB schemes, Blue Revolution and the PMMSY scheme, and the sector is getting a lot of importance now. From NABARD side, as our Mehta was telling, we prepare a potential linked plan every district in the country based on what is the potential available for every sector, including fisheries. The best part is in the month of January, for the next year, going to come from April onward, we conduct a state create seminar focusing on what are the possibilities of fisheries investment in the state. In presence, most of the state create seminars are attended by the Honorable Chief Minister and Fisheries Minister and Secretaries. So we are placing before them what are the opportunities, what are the challenges, and that focus papers are available from our website also. And second thing is we take up this possibility of financing, importance of financing in SLBCs and other seminars also. Third point is we have a lot of bankable projects we have prepared, which can be downloaded free of cost from our site. For aquaculture, marine fisheries, and even shrimp farming, we have model bankable project for a common man to download from our site free of cost. As Sir was telling that RIDF and FIDF are really funds who are creating a lot of infrastructures. In addition to that, we have a lot of grant facilities available from NABARD for promoting sector. Next, I will cover this only 4 points. Next slide, ma'am. Based on the current year potential, we have worked out 19,000 crore is a possibility in the country, mainly focusing on the more than 1,000 crores you can see Andhra Pradesh, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, West Bengal, and Tamil Nadu, Orissa. If we can focus on these 5-6 states itself, we could achieve what can be achieved for the nearest future. This is only an estimation. These figures are available in our website also. Next. So this is one of the area we estimate the potential and tell the whole banking community that this is an area where you can finance, where you can give the bank credit. RIDF is a very important rural infrastructure development program, wherein we have about 39 activities which are eligible for the support. Normally, these are given loan to the government. The private sector shortfall of the Reserve Bank of India is the money. Currently, we have 40,000 crores. Over a period of time, we have sanctioned 7 lakh projects worth of 4.09 lakh crore in the country, including fisheries. Only if we see only for fisheries, we have sanctioned 1,207 projects worth of 3,126 crores in 15 states and Union Territory of Pondicherry. This talks about the volume of infrastructure developed in this country. Very specifically, if we see the last 4 years, last year, the earlier years, the number of projects used to be many and volume of quantum will be less, indicating the projects are small size. Now, current year, if you see, 59 projects worth of 810 crore. This is the point. Morning also, the Joint Secretary in his address was telling that state government should come forward and own the project and go for a bigger infrastructure project. People have started responding to that. And today, 59 projects covering 810 crore already been sanctioned. The best part is the rate of interest is bank rate announced by Reserve Bank of India minus 1.5%. The current rate is only 2.75%. Nowhere you can get lower than this rate available. So it's the right time that more infrastructure can be created. I once again refer to the morning inaugural section. This was telling that more infrastructure development will result in the ultimate credit flow in the grassroots level. This will be helping with that. Next point. Next is the FIDF, Fisheries and Aquaculture Infrastructure Development Fund. NABARD is one of the agency. In fact, there are three agencies. For state governments, NABARD. For cooperatives, NCDC. For other private individuals, commercial banks. These three people will mobilize the resource on the market and extend the lending. The fund size, 7,500 crores, and NABARD has been given a responsibility of mobilizing 2,500 crores. We are well prepared for that, and we are able to help them. The eligible activities are infrastructure creation. Next point. One good thing is total finance outlay 80% can be given. So I was telling about this only. So fishery, what you do, the project has to be submitted to the Joint Secretary Fisheries and copied to the NFDB. Once the project is prepared by state government or the private individuals, NFDB will technically vet the project and evaluate whether it is good or not, or whether money can be given. So cost of borrowing is, this is the formula. We borrow from the market and give to it. We borrow in market and mobilize the resource and pass it on to the client. That is why cost of borrowing plus 60 basic points minus government is giving 3%. So minimum rate of interest is 5%. This is it. Already 10 next slide. Already 10 governments, state governments already signed MOU. This is the current status of FIDF through NABARD. I remember NCDC and commercial banks also doing it. So FIDF progress as on date will be, for the first year, only Tamil Nadu government took it. So about 420 crores sanction, of which 80% comes to 348 crores sanction. So totally, if you see, there are 20 projects sanctioned so far. Friends, out of the 20, 15 projects are from Tamil Nadu, and 3 are from West Bengal, and 1 each from Goa and Gujarat. So as on date, we have sanctioned 862 crore worth of infrastructure under FIDF, of which already we have 229.43 crore have been released. The issue here is, even though only 10 state governments have already signed MOU, which is a prerequisite, only 3 or 4 governments are taking loan. This seminar should end up in saying that there is a lot of potential. Funds are available. Morning, Joint Secretary was also telling money is not a criteria, only you have to justify. Next point. Next slide. Next comes the bank rate. For so far, I have talked about bank finance. Now we'll go for bank rate, the ultimate lending to the ultimate borrower. Friends, there are 3 types of funding. One is short-term lending, which will be repaid in 1 year. Second is medium-term loan, 3 to 7 years. Then more than 7 years. 3 types of lendings are being done by banks. Commercial bank, both private sector and public sector are involved, and they are showing interest now. And regional rural banks and the cooperative banks are also a lot of lending will be done. If you see my experience in Kerala, societies are giving more money for fisheries in Kerala. New generation bank, in fact, yesterday I was discussing that NBFC should come forward because they are in the last minute connectivity. They should come forward to finance sector. Next point. So all sectors are covered, and first we will talk about short-term lending. One very good thing from the government of India is government of India extended the interest subvention to fisheries and animal husbandry. In 2019, I'll repeat, for lending to ultimate beneficiary, the rate of interest will be 9%. Government of India is giving interest subvention of 2%. So it becomes effectively 7% for all borrowers. If a borrower is properly repaying, he will get 3% interest subvention as an incentive. So friends, ultimately to the borrower level, the rate of interest is only 4%. And there are state governments who are waiving that also. So availability of credit is not a problem. Only very timely, you have to support that. This is the KCC mode of financing. Commercial banks are given this much crores, about total about 6,000 crores have been lent for the current year. We have a standard portal called Ensure Portal in NABARD, where all banks are uploading. Commercial banks, cooperative banks, and RRB have extended lending, and quite good amount of financing being done for KCC through KCC in addition to the short-term lending. Next is long-term lending. Next slide. Next is project lending. Next slide, please. Next is project lending. We prepare a project report for aquaculture or marine fisheries or fishing boat, and the banks are financing. And this is the status where unit cost, which should be the cost of per unit, is financed by fixed by our NABARD in every regional office. Unit, it is called a unit cost. For crop loan, it is called scale of financing. For the bigger projects called unit cost, this is decided by NABARD at regional officer involving state government fisheries and all those people. So as on date, we have 2,800 crores financed by commercial bank, cooperative bank and RRB. This is from the official portal of NABARD. Next slide. So the main issues with the commercial bank, ultimate lending, which is not happening as Warning was discussing, mainly because of mounting NPA and appraisal problem with the bankers, because most of the bankers are not having awareness about the financing of fisheries projects, because they are more experts in animal husbandry area. Insurance, only full loss is covered, partial loss is not covered, and most of the projects are capital intensive. The solution is group mode of financing. If farmers can come together, fishermen come together, or fish farmers can come together into form joint liability groups, financing become easier. We have success story to tell you from Karnataka. In Udupi, I will just show the slide later. In Udupi, you could prove that about 100 crore money has been financed by corporation bank alone through JLG mode of financing. Second is FPO mode of financing. So first, few suggestions only. One is, if any bank has difficulty of appraising a project, we have an agency called NABCONS, NABARD Consulting Services. Their service can be availed. Then NGOs and departments should come forward with the joint hands to the banks. And we have a lot of scope for promoting value chain financing. Morning sessions also, many were talking about that. NABARD is open. We can join hands with anybody to develop a value chain financing models. Next slide, quickly. Another 2 minutes, I'll finish it. And I'll just close my presentation by saying only 2 examples of success story where the potential can be easily reaped. When I was general manager in Trivandrum, Kerala regional office, one of the state level bankers committee meeting, I made a presentation of possibility of cage farming in backwaters of Kerala. Yeah, backwaters, Kerala is full of backwaters, and the fishermen stay by a side only. So poaching is not a problem, security is not a problem, only permission by Panchayat is required. I prepared a model. The model is readily available from the SLBC site of Kerala. Model as well as presentation, everything available there. And I prepared a banking plan for all the 7 districts in the Kerala. So all banks have supported that. In fact, the regional director of Reserve Bank of India showed a lot of interest. When general manager of RBI followed with all the bankers, as a result, 3.25 crore amount has been financed in Kerala. This is one of the successful model. Only thing I want to say is, here we brought into NFDB, CMFRI and banks together. In fact, CMFRI conducted a training program. They helped in arranging the cages and they helped in development of technical guidance. They arranged subsidy from NFDB. That is important thing. Many ladies have availed subsidy and banks like Bank of Baroda, Federal Bank, Canara Bank and few societies are financed. So successful model is available. It is possible. Next slide. Next slide. The only basic technical details that the length is on 1.5 into 4 into 3. That's the size. And Kerala is known for Caribbean cultivation and there is no distress sale. Here important point is CMFRI helped in selling the fishes by registering the e-portal. These are excellent. So when we come together, success is a possibility. Next slide. Only 2 slides I have. Next slide. Then another success story I was telling you is joint liability group. See, in a place called Malpe in Udupi district of Karnataka, one corporation bank manager was sitting. He saw ladies taking loan from the money lender in the beaches and procuring fishes for trading, for marketing. He called the ladies and told her, why don't take money from me? And the state government is giving subsidy. Government of Karnataka, if the money is given more than 50,000 rupees, they give interest subvention. So the one manager motivated the idea, why don't you farm? 5 people can come together. Today we have about 19,000 fishermen come together, sir. That is a possibility. One manager of corporation bank. Today it is called the Union Bank of India after merger, but they extended 1.5 crore, 15 crores have already been done, and bank has extended credit of 157 crore money in one district. That shows the possibility. The only way is, unfortunately, after that I tell you, when fishermen are financed as individuals, they sometimes don't pay. When they farm into groups, the group dynamism helps, and we have a success story, and I can share the whole thing with you. Next. In fact, that manager was sent abroad by NABARD for doing good work for farming SHG among fishermen, and he got an exposure in Philippines also. These are all few photographs. where this is the main investment. One vessel, purchase of fishes, dress them and do. One difference is when the fisherwomen are taking bigger fishes, they get more money. When they go for second grade fish, they will not get more margin. When you give money of 50,000 rupees to them, they go and bargain and take fishes from the market, and their life has been changed. The live examples at this time. Next slide. Next slide. So there is the last point is farmers produce organization. In fisheries also it is possible. NABARD has promoted 19 APOs exclusive on fisheries by spending 1.94 crore rupee as a grant. This is a grant support we are given for formation, and in Assam itself we have 12, Bihar 4, Tripura 1, Madhya Pradesh 2. These are all 90 APOs promoted by NABARD. Other than that, there are aquarium fresh ornamental fish catcher FPOs in Kerala also. Next. The last slide is, in addition to whatever I told, there are a lot of grant available from NABARD side. I request all of you to please use it. For conducting seminar like this, we support under R&D fund. For conducting studies, in fact, right now I have a proposal from SIBA with me, and Central Agriculture University, Manipur is also in the proposal. It's all under consideration. So we will support, because when we come together, development is a possibility I told. So for conducting seminars, for conducting studies, NABARD will be able to support under RIDF. Not only that, for example, some propagation opportunities, democulture unit of biofloc cultivation, we can give money. When I was GM in Kerala, I sanctioned 5 lakh rupees for NGO as a grant, free money for training the fishermen in a scientific line. So these are all the fundamental requirements of the country. Lastly, adaptation fund and for climate change, we have many projects running, about 8 projects, of which 2 are under fisheries. One is Andhra Pradesh through my MS Swaminathan Foundation, Research Foundation is doing 69 lakh grant, and one more NGO in Madhya Pradesh is doing inland fish culture to combat the negative impacts of climate change. Lastly, we have a NAFCC project, National Adaptation Fund for Climate Change. We have 25 crore project, 2 projects running for fisheries. Out of 30 projects in the country, 50 crore has been given for integrating fish and paddy culture in Kerala, as well as the biodiversity upliftment in Tamil Nadu. With these few slides, I take the opportunity to thank the chairman as well as the entire panel members. These are some photographs of climate change. Thank you very much, sir. Next.
Thank you for a very, very rich presentation, Dr. Selvaraj. Some of the information and the data points were indeed eye-openers. Thoroughly enjoyed. If you permit, I have a few small questions and a few suggestions.
Yes,
obviously, we'll have participants to ask as well, but that we keep at the end. But let me talk to you on a few things. First of all, you said 19,732 crores is the credit potential, which you showed in one of the slides.
Yes.
Is that largely capex or largely working capital, or is it mixed?
Both, sir. Both working capital it has a working capital as well as term lending, sir. Both.
All right. The other thing which you said interestingly was that NBFCs, yesterday also we talked, NBFCs would also be eligible for the NABARD's subvention, assistance, etc. Is that
yes,
now
it is available. It's available, sir. For NBFCs given. Yeah.
Formally notified, right?
Yes.
So I'm sure my colleague here, Anil in particular, would be enjoying what you said about NBFCs, so he would get on with it. The other thing which is interesting and that has a little bit caught my attention was on the cooperative banks and the PACs. Yes. So I suppose you mentioned state cooperative banks and the PACs. Now, to my information, I think many of them, or most of them actually are dysfunctional because of the NPAs and all, largely. The PACs, I mean, some of them may be in some states, but in general, they're not working at all or very, very in a small way. Is NABARD, are you confident that, I mean, PACs, of course, can be a beautiful delivery vehicle for all these small, all these schemes, but is NABARD doing something really to invigorate the PACs and the DCCs, or is there something on the anvil?
Yeah, sir, what I was telling is about Kerala PACs. Of the whole country, 1 lakh PACs are there. As you say, majority of them are loss making, but in Kerala, they are all profit making. They are all huge deposit holders. In fact, for that reason only, state cooperative banks, DCC has been completely removed in that layer, sir. Now we have a Kerala bank, which is a state cooperative bank attached with the PACs, only 2 layers. And they have finance excellent level. As you correctly say, that cannot be generalized with all the remaining part of the country. It is only for Kerala. I was specifically mentioned that. NABARD is doing a lot of work for bringing back the vitality in the CAPEX because they are like NBFCs. No, they are all based on India. They understand the language better. So we are planning for computerization also now.
Wonderful. That's good to know. And I have 2 or 3 suggestions. One, that I think you are yourself a certified trainer.
Yes.
So please do get more bankers into your fold. And, NABARD has its bird and all other institutions. And please get them on to training to finance fisheries and how to mitigate risks. And the other thing is that this success story which you just had in OTP, which you showed about so much of money lent by erstwhile Corporation Bank, right? And somebody, maybe 1 or 2 leading gentlemen. I think that should be popularized more. I think you should propagate that amongst the bankers also, so that people get this confidence that by doing A, B, C, D better, you can actually speaking have nil NPAs. Generally speaking, people are reluctant to do that because they think they lose money.
100%.
I think it's important. Few success stories, but they should be really resonate across the board. That's important. So, and last but not the least, I think RIDF, FIDF, I know, but what I would encourage is NABARD should do some risk sharing with bankers. So far, these funds are lent to state governments and to the banks on a no risk basis, right? So NABARD gets its money back and you have a beautiful balance sheet. So I would imagine that with so much of cash reserve, start sharing the risk with the bankers. So
thank you, excellent suggestion. I will take it out. FIDF by the guidelines itself is saying NABARD can give only for state government things, actually correctly.
So guidelines can be changed. So we have somebody from the government here, and he should take it back. So
thank you.
Let me at this stage invite Mr. Sagar Mehra, who is the Joint Secretary, Inland Fisheries in the Department of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying. I think just that there's a separate department, separate ministry. Now it shows the importance being given to this segment as well. And no wonder that we have a Joint Secretary specifically focusing on inland fisheries. He's a very senior civil servant. I'm sure that he's worked around in many departments. So that's something which goes along with the civil service. But at the same time, Mr. Mehra has been leading the charge here specifically with regard to the Pradhan Mantri Kisan, what is that, Matsya Sampada Yojana and all. I think he would, I read some targets which are indeed ambitious, that in 5 years' time, something like 20,000, 50 crores, and and 2.2 lakh metric tons production. So I think there's a huge amount of work to be done, and the impetus has to come from the government, no doubt. I think the challenge for the government always is not just to give money and to a backstop, but actually to galvanize all sections of the society and the stakeholders to really partake in this growth. Mr. Mehra, with these words, may I invite you kindly to come and address the gathering. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Dr. P. Selviraj, CGM NABARD, Sri Rajesh Srivastava, Executive Chairman, Ravo Equity Advisors, and galaxy of panelists to discuss the institutional finance and credit to fisheries sector topic for today's session. A very good afternoon to all of you. First of all, let me thank CII for putting the entire thing together. We have been discussing for quite some time, and we promised that we'll make it happen before the budget session. And I'm thankful to CII that in spite of all the adverse conditions in view of COVID, they still could come forward and organize it. Now, coming to the topic, see, we often keep hearing that we are a sunrise sector, we are second largest fish producer, fourth major exporter of fisheries products, with a lot of potential. But still, I feel that fisheries sector has lots of challenges and things to address with huge growth potential. And there are a host of challenges, and one of the challenges is the access to formal credit. This is a prominent challenge, and I think formation of a new ministry, new department was a paradigm shift in the Indian, history of Indian fisheries sector. And with that, we have owned up many challenges also. And to ensure that we have the better access to the credit system. Other day, I was looking at a report of one of the working groups set up by RBI, which says that the allied activities, which includes livestock, forestry, and fisheries, they receive only 10% of the total agriculture credit, while they contribute 40% of the agriculture output. And with this, we can imagine that while we are contributing around more than 37,000 crore of, to the export basket, but still the access to formal credit is still very limited. And I think I must thank Dr. Selviras that what share we are getting at RIDF is really, I'm happy to know that this NABARD is doing so much for the fishery sector. This is really a good slide to look at. And while the efforts of NABARD and the other financial agencies, that is commercial banks, state cooperative banks, regional rural banks, are doing a lot to include fisher folk and our fish farmers under their various credit programs, but still I think there is imperative need to have a system which is equitable, receptive, and keeping in view the prevailing socio-economic conditions of our fishermen and fish farmers, we really need to have a very sound system in place. And recognizing this fact, way back in 2018-19, the department launched the FIDF, which NABARD just discussed. And so far, under FIDF, we have approved projects with total outlay of more than 3,783 crore, out of which the major share has gone to the state governments only, that is more than 3,451 crore has gone to states only for harbors and other larger projects. If I look at FIDF as a whole, I found that the share of private entrepreneurs, the private investment has been very limited. And so far we have approved 20 projects from the private individual entrepreneurs with outlay of around 100 crore only, 120 crore only. And that too, with great pain, I'm sharing with you that so far the commercial banks could approve only one or two projects I am told, and that too running into outlay of not more than 3 crore only. So the projects which we have approved, when the entrepreneurs approaching the banks, they are asking for collateral of more than 2.5 times they have to come in. So the projects are yet to take off. So keeping in view the fact that banks are not willing, I myself have been talking to DFS, and at the secretary level also, we have made a reference to Department of Financial Services to look into it, have meeting with SLBCs, have meeting with the MDs from different banks, so that the projects which we have approved under FIDF, they can be sanctioned and they can take off at the earliest. So this is one issue which we have been taking up with the Ministry of Finance, and I will request NABARD to look into it and to find some way out. I have been discussing with all the meetings of FIDF and telling the representatives from NABARD that how we can address this issue. And apart from this, there is regional imbalance also. All the projects, they have come on the coastal states only. I'm yet to see a good project from Northeast especially, and the Himalayan and other hilly states. So I'll request NABARD to do some good outreach programs in these difficult areas, northeastern region states, so that we can, there are private entrepreneurs who want to come and join us, those who can come forward. I think we need to do some, I'm more than ready to come forward anytime and engage the state governments also, and to do some good outreach programs also. I believe the nodal agency from our side, NFDB, has been doing quite a few programs. Now they have, thrown the online website also for receiving the applications. But still, I think to really facilitate the access of the willing entrepreneurs, private investors, we need to do more than this, so that the real objective of reaching out to the, because government alone, be it our FIDF, be it our PMMSY, government alone investments will not suffice. We need to have the due share of private investors, private entrepreneurs. Only then the ambitious targets of achieving the 220 lakh ton fish production can be achieved. The target of 1 lakh crore exports by 24-25 can be achieved only when the all the stakeholders, government, bankers, investors, private entrepreneurs, only when they come together, only then we can do it. The other vertical, which there was a long standing demand from the fishermen and fishers, that what all credit facilities are available, concessional credit facilities are available to the crop sector, should be made available to the fishery sector also. And in 2018-19, the KCC facility was extended to fisheries sector also, along with the animal husbandry sector also. And of late, it has been reviewed at the highest level, and we realize that the saturation and penetration of KCC facility is yet to, feel the presence amongst our fishers and fishermen. So, keeping in view that it is yet to, percolate to the desirable level, uh, on November 15th this year, last year, we launched a nationwide campaign to be, ensure that at least we mobilized 50 lakh KCC applications. And of late, we reviewed that more than 2 lakh applications have been, mobilized. But still, it has to, be done in a, very focused manner. Though we have allocated the targets, which has to be covered by the states and UTs district-wise, but I think to make it a people's movement, to bring in all the eligible people, we need to mobilize still more number of applications. And there were few issues which were highlighted at the review which was done at the cabinet secretary level, to take care of all the issues, that there is a requirement that you should have either license, or you should be the leasee. All these issues have also been addressed, and the this week, early this week only, we have addressed a communication to the Department of Financial Services to amend the existing RBI guidelines, that the people, those who are not eligible presently, though they are actively engaged in the fisheries sector, but they don't have a license, or they don't have the permission or permit, or they don't have the lease documents, they should also be made eligible at the recommendation of district fisheries officer or any other officers from the state government fisheries department, so that they also can be taken care of, and they are also included within the eligible category of the KCC facility. So uh, these are the two, steps which we have been following very closely. That is FIDF and KCC also, and the KCC is being monitored at the highest level. Forcing the successes and potential of the sector, the Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana was announced as a part of Atmanirbhar Bharat package, with highest ever investment of 20,050 crore, wherein we are envisaging that by 2024-25 we'll have the 220 lakh production of fisheries, and 1 lakh crore of exports. and productivity will go from 3 ton to 5 ton, and also enhancing domestic fish consumption to 12 kg per capita, and also bring down the post-harvest losses to 10%. And all these targets are possible when we have investment in various components, whether it is setting up of various infrastructure like hatcheries, brood bank, technology infusion, livelihood support, productive utilization of land and water, and we have to focus on creating conducive environment for private sector participation as a part of the entire strategy development of entrepreneurship and innovative business models in fisheries sector. And this month we have launched the fisheries startup grant challenge also in association with Startup India. I believe that it will really help in fostering startup culture in the fisheries sector, and we will be getting and encouraging the innovative ideas and infusion of innovative technologies in the sector. And despite various opportunities and potential, there is a challenge in terms of getting due share of again I'll say institutional credit, and there are a few issues which have been highlighted at various fora, like stringent norms and financial compliances of banks in the production sector, then the cumbersome documentation process and credit appraisal process, the collateral securities which are required by the lending institutions, and then the land leasing and land conversion protocols, and land as a collateral is coming as a major challenge. Then if we talk about market reach and financial literacy, there is very low penetration of institutional financial products, and the major lending through informal channels is still there, like traders, input dealers, feed millers, hatchery operators, and exporters. And there is general lack of awareness about the products available in the market for fishers and fish farmers. So there are many issues, and with regard to KCC, if we look at the crop sector, their requirement of working capital is still on the lower side as compared to the aquaculture, especially if talk about shrimp farmers taking of intensive cultivation. There is always a requirement on the higher side. So KCC also, we are considering the scaling up financing under KCC to all such farmers. That all we are doing. And what I feel is that along with all the financial institutions, there are a few areas where we need to look up to facilitate the better access to credit from institutions. That is developing of customized and innovative products which are tailored to the needs of our fisheries and aquaculture sector, because there are banks. One of the applicant told me that when he approached the bank, they are telling him that look, you don't have any pond, you are doing RAS, which is really beyond their comprehension. So there are new technologies which banks need to be familiarized with. That essentially it is not the pond only which is a fisheries. There are other technologies have come. We have aquaponics, we have RAS, we have a biofloc, which are much more efficient technologies which they need to take into consideration, and they should be coming forward to finance these state of the art technologies which we are promoting under our schemes, be it FIDF, be it PMMSY, and there are other models. See, under PMMSY we have be it your cold water fisheries, be it ornamental fisheries, be it seaweed, be it your reservoir cage culture, we have, earmarked investment in each and every vertical of the fisheries and aquaculture. So, and there is a specific focus on infusion of technology also. So if somebody is doing adaptation or adoption of technology, bankers and financial institutions have to appreciate the adoption of technology and come forward to support such technologies by, because there are youngsters, those who want to adopt latest technologies, be it before production, production, post production, or processing segment. They want to come into all these segments and adopt technology, because the land is becoming short supply. So technologies have to be supported by the financial institutions, and they have to ensure that by supporting such technologies, they are not risking their capital. Rather, they are encouraging the talent to come forward and make it more resilient to the risk. Further, they should focus on providing credit based on cash flow rather than on insisting on submission of collaterals. There, I have personal experience of talking to one entrepreneur who is in J&K, who is working in very difficult conditions, and he's working on this rainbow trout, and he's having a very good business. He want to set up a processing unit, but the banks are insisting on land, collateral in the forms of land, that this your well functioning unit will not accept as a collateral. So that way we need to, but he's having very good cash flow, that banks are not coming forward. Then the next is we need to develop standard mechanism to evaluate economic viability of the projects and mitigate the risk. Then launch some technology-enabled platforms exclusively for small and marginal fishers and fish farmers. And also the area which is quite important, that we need to introduce some financial literacy programs to build capacity of the target groups. And we need to, I think, one of the weakest area in the fisheries and aquaculture is the extension machinery. Opposite to crop sector, in our area, the extension machinery at the state level, either it is very weak or it is totally absent. And out of I think 680 plus KVKs, only some 100 KVKs have the fisheries, subject matter specialists. So you can imagine the weak machinery we have. I believe that most of the people, those who are associated with the fisheries sector, they are yet to have the knowledge of the schemes and programs available, and to whom they contact to for availing any benefit available under ongoing schemes of the central government or of the state government. We in view of this, I think financial literacy level would be still lower if the knowledge itself about the ongoing schemes and programs is quite low. So that in this background, be it our commercial banks, FIDF, NABARD, we need to come together and take the facilities and available with us under different schemes and programs to ensure that we tweak with our existing schemes and guidelines, so that we can facilitate the access to institutional credit finance. And be it NCDS, SFAC, we need to bring in all the stakeholders within our folder, because we under PMMSY, we are also promoting 500 plus FFPOs, also fish farmers producer organizations also, and NCDC has already been assigned the target of 50 FFPOs. SFAC has already done 5 FFPOs for us, and the NFDB has the target of 20 FFPO promotion. And there are a number of state federations which are also coming forward, and we also need to rope in our FiscoFed also, which is a national federation of fisheries cooperatives. So if all together, and we are in close touch with the Department of Financial Services also, Department of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare also, so that we can have best of the access, and whatever targets in the yearly budget are given for the agriculture and agri-allied credit targets are fixed, we get our due share, and we facilitate the best access to our stakeholders in our wood offices. With this, I again thank CII for organizing the conference and providing this opportunity to share my views and what small efforts we are doing from our side, and also hearing out to various stakeholders and panelists that what best we can do from the government and department side. Thank you everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Meera. Thank you very much. I think that just goes to show that both at the ministry and the official level and at your personal level, there is so much of commitment and passion to this, fisheries business, which is great. I think you understand. See, one of the challenges which we always have in all walks of life is to really understand the problems first. If you really can pinpoint the problems, then you can attempt to find solutions. And I saw that you have put your finger on the pulse correctly. So the problems are at hand now. The solution finding has to happen, and that takes time very often in a multiple cultural cross section which we have in our country. It takes time, but all the same, I think two things which come out of you, and I think also Dr. Selvaraj when he spoke, is that bankers in general are definitely, there is a case for upgrading the skills in terms of appraisal of this particular segment for credit. Now, what happens if I'm not really familiar with all the risks and challenges, then the only thing we can do is to be defensive, increase our pricing, and ask for collaterals. If I were to understand the business better, I would go in for a cash flow based financing and I would do the project based financing than to cover my backside, literally speaking, and ask for collaterals, which is where all things go wrong. Because obviously, especially the startup, now startups don't have collaterals, or small farmers, how would they have collaterals? Where's the land? So, it's like a chicken and egg story. It doesn't get fulfilled at all. So you're right, absolutely. And that's where I requested Dr. Selvaraj that please, for heaven's sake, please focus on training the bankers a lot more. And, I've been a banker for many years, my life as well, and I can understand what happens really in our culture. I think let's move away from there. Now, with this, I have the pleasure of inviting Mr. Arpan Bhalirao, who comes from Aqua Connect. And that's where I think we were heading to, that he would talk about, and this is a firm which actually is a full stack aquaculture fintech enabler. And they actually, have a program called AquaCred, where they actually talk about risk assessment-based financing techniques, which are available on the tap for any financial institution. And here is an institution which can guide, coach, mentor, handhold, and financial institutions to really develop their metrics. So I think they are doing a great job. They're all very well educated people in the lineage of Aqua Connect. Arpan himself is an IIT Madras and ISB alumnus. And after having done multiple things in his life, he's come to something where he should stay on for longer term. So he's a Chief Growth Officer of Aqua Connect. And I think one of the things which I liked when I was looking at your website was that you have a beautiful two phrases coined: eyes in the sky and boots on the ground, right? And how do you connect? So from the satellite-based remote sensing thing to literally, the data through artificial intelligence and through your connect with the aquaculture farmers here. I think that's great to hear. I think let's hear what you can do for the bankers, which Mr. Meera and Dr. Selvaraj also pointed out, that there's a need for the risk appraisal techniques to be not based, to be based on fintech, on new algorithms, to give comfort that my money will not sink. So Arpan, floor is yours.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Rajesh, and pleasure speaking to you, everyone. An excellent start to the session by Dr. Selvaraj, and I would congratulate Mr. Sagar that he has pointed out some very I mean, these are all things which we as startup operators face challenges with when we are reaching out to financial institutions and requesting them to partner in this very high growth kind of a sector. And we have Mr. Anil also here, and proud to say that we have partnered with Samunati for one of these programs, and we have our first disbursement which happened a couple of months back through the program that we are running with Samunati. And I wish that our program with them will also expand, and many more NBFCs and banks will join this thing. So I have 3 or 4 slides which I'll take their support to sort of drive my message and to sort of put an understanding to the forum on how we really operate here. I hope you guys are able to see my slides. Yeah. Let me put this on full screen. So as pointed out that we are a full stack aquaculture inputs and outputs platform. So herein what we are doing is that we are not just so in startup there is a very funny phrase that they use that there cannot be a startup which does only lending, and lending has to be a feature within a gamut of other services, and that is something which we keenly believe in. And fintech has to be an embedded sort of a service, including the input side supply chain, output side market linkage, etc. And that's what we are here to sort of operationalize. Proud to show you this metric that as AquaConnect, we have been able to service farmers in each and every state within India, while we have a higher concentration on the eastern coastal belt, because that's where most of our physical on-ground operations are. But 31% of it, and if you include Gujarat, about 40% comes from the rest of India. And this is somewhere we take pride in, that we have been able to reach out to the remotest corner. Even places like Northeast India, we have many customers. So 60,000 plus farmers we have assisted. We have our aqua partners base of 67. I'll come to detail of just explaining how we work with them. We have transacted about 800,000 pounds of seafood on our platform, and about 120 total harvest deals till date in this year. So there is a huge traction which has built over last 1 year, and we expect this growth to continue in coming days. Just to give a sense of the ecosystem, how we are supercharging this. So we essentially work with 3 primary stakeholders in this value chain. So we recognize the fact that India in the rural setting is still not ready for a direct to farmer kind of a business model. And as has been pointed out by the previous speakers as well, that some sort of a group buying has to be put in place. And that's where we are actually reaching out to the input retailers and making them a part of our Aqua Partner program. So essentially, they have access to a lot of inputs which we are able to get for them. And they essentially service the farmers on behalf of us, because most of the needs for the farm inputs are required on a very just-in-time basis by the farmers. So you cannot really have long supply chains in order to fulfill the farmers' requirements. On the post-harvest side, what we realized is one of the biggest issues for the farmers is realization of cash upon harvest. In most cases, they have to really wait for receiving the funds, which is their right. I mean, they get rid of their stock, they sell it to the traders, and they have to wait for capital to come back in after 15-20 days. Here, what we have been able to sort of activate is that the farmer gets payment on the same day, and we have credit terms with the buyers. Now, what we have realized, and as pointed out, that in comparison to horticulture, agriculture activities, this is a far more capital intensive sector. And as mentioned that, there are a lot of working capital challenges at each level. So there is, and for that particular reason, we have devised this platform called AquaCred. We feel that we should, I mean, in the back end, we are trying to partner with various NBFCs, BFSI partners, etc., sort of support to each one of these stakeholders. And thankfully, we are really getting some good support, very good conversations going on. However, a lot needs to be done in spite of all the good intentions of many of the bankers that are coming forth. So what we essentially do is that in either of these for stakeholders, we essentially are enabling some sort of a factoring When we say factoring or invoice discounting, you can just imagine. So this is credit wherein the sanction may be provided to a limit of, let's say, 10 lakh rupees to a farmer, but essentially the credit disbursement happens only along with a particular invoice in lieu of the farm inputs that they are purchasing. Or in case of the output, the credit is enabled or disbursed in lieu of a particular transaction that is happening from the farmer to the buyer. Now, what this allows us to do is that we have a very good control over the fair utilization of the credit that is going in. And any point in time, we have the ability to monitor and control the flow of credit at any point in time. This is something which has seen a lot of interest from the banking community as well. So essentially, AquaConnect is trying to solve the major challenges of the banks and the bank lending institutions. Origination. So we are here to find out the right sort of stakeholder which should be availing credit, helping with underwriting and disbursal. So we essentially act as banking correspondents for the banking institutions, collect the details for lending, etc. There is a credit management because what we feel that if the money is directly going to the stakeholder's account, the accountability is something which becomes a big challenge, and hence the management has to happen on a granular basis. And the last one is because we are able to connect the farmers to the buyers as well. There is a tap on the collections as well. Now, all these things, as services to the banking and financial services institutions, this is something which we are providing. And there is a very deep operational layer, which is essentially getting a lot of data out for them to really look at and getting a lot of transparency in the system. Just to go forward one step, and I'll not take too much time of the forum. This is something which is from a very deep tech perspective that we are doing. We I mean, I forget name. Yes, Mr. Sagar, I think he mentioned that a lot of satellite, imagery, etc., can be now used. So we are creating a very robust data stack for any stakeholder to look at and take decisions, be it forecast planning for input providers, be it supply planning for input supply planning for the buyers or for banking institutions. So we have a data stack. Data flows through three pipes. One is through GIS remote sensing. One is through our ground team, which collects metadata like farmer KYC, land records, etc. And one is through our customer relationship management system, wherein any farmer that we connect with, and whenever they are reaching out to AquaConnect, we essentially have a track record of what sort of conversations have happened with them. Just to double click a little bit on the GIS remote sensing, what we have been able to do is, because all these ponds are mostly out open to the skies, we have been able to demarcate each and every aquaculture pond in the states of Tamil Nadu, AP, Gujarat, and Odisha. Now, what this allows us to do is, now these are identifiable patches of lands wherein we know, because these imagery is available every 5-day frequency, that there is actually aquaculture going on in these pieces of land. So this is a further check to just create that there is authenticity in terms of the origination of the person that we are doing. There are logics that we are now running to be able to predict the active or inactive status of the pond, and to also predict on which date of culture the pond is at. So just imagine from a very credit monitoring perspective how powerful this tool can be in terms of just giving a green, amber, and red kind of a rating for an underlying asset. Now, this is something which we are actively working on. There is a lot of training data flowing in for this model to get more and more accurate as we go along. Just to put my sort of demands, I would say, in the forum, what we have realized is that a lot of banking and financial institutions are new to this sort of lending sector. So in fact, with Samunati also, we have sort of entered into a FLDG kind of arrangement where we have given some sort of a credit default guarantee to a very minuscule 5 to 7%. Now, for us to expand the program size, this becomes a bottleneck because as a startup, we have limited funds. This is something wherein if we can get some sort of a credit guarantee scheme for any of these cash flow based loans which are coming in, I think this will be a huge boost for a lot of NBFCs to really take the plunge in this sector. I think I see a lot of interest in here, but there are some structural gaps. If they are fulfilled, I think it will be great. Second is that thankfully we have been able to revive aquaculture insurance, both in fish and shrimp, farming. So this is against the natural calamities and disease protection as well. Now here, currently, because the base of people who are really getting, or availing this insurance is still low, the cost of insurance is quite high. It is about 5 to 7% in most cases. And this is something which, if we can get some sort of a subvention from the government authorities, I think it will be helping a lot of de-risking, and this will in turn help the credit backers to really take that risk without being too much bothered about a cyclone coming in and wiping out their entire asset base. And this is a real challenge that a lot of people are cognizant of. And I think if there is a movement in these two regions, I think it will be great for us to just kickstart this entire virtuous cycle. Just to give a sense of we are aligned with 4 sustainability development goals that the UN has provided for. Many of our the things that we have done with the farmers have resulted in great productivity enhancements, reduced capex and the cost of capital, and an increase in profit margins as well. And as I shown you in the first slide, we have got a few female officers on the ground as well. So there is a lot of female participation that we are also promoting in this sector. So with this, I would like to take your leave, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Arpan. I think, as I said in the original introductory remarks, that we will have time for some Q&As at the end of the session. But very, very quickly, I think, as I said, very innovative, very good. I think this is need of the hour, what you're doing. I have just 2 or 3 things to ask you. One, that are you an NBFC at the moment or no? You're not.
Not an NBFC at the moment. We are partnering with NBFCs such as Samanati.
I understand. Yeah. But since you are giving FLDGs and all, I think I would. So that's out of your capital which you have, right? Basically.
Yeah, I think this is some sort of comfort that FLDs, and this is something which RBI is also looking from a governance perspective. We will soon have some regulations around that. I understand that, but I think something from a very credit guarantee sort of perspective. If more mature institutions like NABARD, take part into this, I think it will be I mean, the focus of a startup should be on operations rather than really giving out guarantees on these kind of things.
I understand. But then at the same time, just to assure the bankers today on the ground, leave some Unnati, they are a class apart. But if you have the regular bankers on the ground who need a lot more comfort hand holding, then you need to have either a co-lending program, in which case you need to be an NBFC, or you really have to expand your FLDG program, where of course depends on RBI guidelines, how much would they allow you to do. And the other thing which I have to ask you is insurance. You mentioned about insurance. You're not doing insurance yourself, right? You can't.
We are risk management partners with some of the institutes.
Understand. You're not from IRDA. You're not really speaking.
We are too small to really take those steps so soon.
Yes, indeed. So what I would want to suggest is that, again, as a measure of your increased cooperation with the banking and the financial sector community, I think you should look at insurers who are there worldwide, who do, actually they call themselves reinsurers, but if you can bring them around and connect with the lending community here as part of your very, very proactive functions here. So that may be useful. And I'm just trying to expand your business here. So doing some marketing for you. But once again, I think this is the need of the hour. I think somebody's got to get onto the fintech platform, develop some new algorithms, get onto the financing community. And obviously, you've got to cut through the public sector banking community, which is very, very important. Not like someone will grasp you or grab you anytime. That's easy to understand. But go on with the regular bankers. It's important. So thank you, Arpan. Thank you very much. And I was very enamored with what you guys are doing. So we have to move on because we're running a little bit behind time.
Yes, sir.
So we have a stalwart, which is Mr. Anil Kumar SG here, who's from Samunnati. We've all been talking about Samunnati. You've been doing some yeoman's job, Anil. So congratulations once again, reaching some milestones. And I think he's the founder and CEO of Samunnati, and they have been doing some groundbreaking stuff. I won't take too much of time. Most people would know you, but let's hear from you what's new, which you're doing, and especially with regard to fisheries. So thank you, Anil, for being here.
Thank you. you, Rajesh. Thank you for the opportunity and wonderful being here. And it's fantastic to listen to Dr. Selvaraj and Mr. Mehra on the big picture and the policy level dimensions. But we are privileged to be working with Arpan and Aqua Connect. I was chatting with my team, Arpan, as you were on the panel, wondering, hey, what are we doing with Aqua Connect? Because I was part of the approval committee when the proposal came in. And I'm glad your turn came prior to mine. So I will borrow a lot in terms of structuring from what you have mentioned. So Samunati as an entity focuses only on agriculture in a value chain proposition. We believe that finance is an enabler. It is important but not sufficient. But when you look at agri value chains, it is important to also look at market linkages, advisory services, and safety net in the form of guarantees and other things to have a meaningful impact on the farmers who are actually the reason why Samunati exists. So we exist to make markets work for smallholder farmers. And we are in about 22 states. We have done about 10,000 crores worth of both disbursements as well as market linkages across 100 value chains. We stumbled into the fisheries value chain rather accidentally in an indirect manner. We started with dairy as a value chain, and in order to look at the major input in dairy, which is the animal feed industry, is when we realized that actually the feed industry takes care of all the three verticals: the aqua, the avian, as well as the bovine. All three, and the best of the feed goes to aquaculture. Is how we got a little bit of an exposure to the aquaculture, and that's how we started looking at working with the feed manufacturing and the feed value chain in fisheries. Samunati believes in a cash flow based approach that Dr. Mehra was mentioning, where collateral or past performance or financial returns are all surrogates. They are like looking into the rear view mirror and driving ahead. What is most important is how about the transaction? How about the particular crop? And how about the cash flows associated with that specific value chain? And that is how the entire underwriting of Samunati is structured around. And the two capitals that we leverage on in terms of underwriting any deal for that matter is the familiarity between the buyers and sellers in the value chain, which we refer to as social capital, the soft information. And this familiarity while buying and selling is usually through a transaction history, and leveraging the transaction history is what we refer to as a trade capital. So whom to lend social capital and how much to lend is trade capital, and that is how we have structured the entire underwriting proposition around Samunati's engagement, right? And if I can just take the example of Aqua Connect in this context, all that Samunati is looking at is how do we remove the working capital constraint for an entity like Aqua Connect, so as to make them at equilibrium, and be working with their constituents, the farmers and the ecosystem players that Aqua Connect has built around the ecosystem. And it is this structure where there is an anchor partner. The anchor partner has a vintage of engagement and a relationship with their constituents, whether it is vendors, suppliers, or farmers that they work with, and have the capability to provide the transaction history for our underwriting to begin with, and also participate in the risk through the FLDG structure that Arpan mentioned is how we go ahead and structure any such proposition, whether it is on the lending side or on the market linkages side. What we understand at this point in time is our engagement in the fisheries is still restricted to shrimp. In addition to working with entities like Aqua Connect, who have a deeper inroads in the hinterland, we also work with several of the other value chain players at the demand side, and a lot of our action is happening in Bhimavaram, where so far we have done close to 400 crores worth of working capital structures for people who move the goods and cash in the shrimp value chain. And that's another beautiful value chain that we are realizing that exists, where there is a 90-day credit period, 30-day of stock in the go down, then 30-day transit, and then 30-day after the goods are received by the buyer.
and how do we remove the working capital constraint so that the the seasonality that is associated with shrimp farming does not impinge on the number of transactions that the traders can do in these value chains. Our foray into the farmer producer organizations in the fisheries is still limited for 3-4 reasons. One, we understand that the risks associated with production is very, very high, and availability of insurance on a standalone basis is still very limited. Number one. Two, we still don't have domain expertise with players like Aqua Connect, which can partner with Samunati to work together. Either we have large entities which don't need Samunati, or there are entities which don't look at the risk participation and the partnership structure in a new age underwriting processes that are coming. The ice in the sky and boots on the ground, as Rajesh mentioned. Those kind of partnerships would be the need of the hour to say that. So we certainly believe that in a mature value chain and a more organized value chain like fisheries, the comprehensive proposition in terms of not only working capital and lending, but also creating a little bit of an infrastructure and working with the collectives through the cold chain propositions, as well as bringing advisory services for them to access larger markets beyond India, are all very much possible, provided we as ecosystem players can come in. And we see, at least I see that within the panel itself, with NABARD being there, with, of course, thanks to Rahul yesterday, got to understand a lot about Lighthouse, Roy. And there are immense possibilities on how Samunati can work with Lighthouse to be able to bring a comprehensive value chain proposition to the farmer producer organizations. On that, it's music to ears when Mr. Mehra mentioned about the FFPOs, which would mean a dedicated effort within the space of fisheries through collectivization. The last point that I would like to make, Rajesh, specific to your answer, is what we are observing is banks come in slightly later after a reasonable track record and credibility of a particular sector is established, and we certainly see partnership with Aqua Connect kind of examples where we demonstrate the credibility over few cycles, and then taking that proposition to the public sector banks or private sector banks who are interested in the co-lending structures, wherein Samunati can be the co-lending partner, and then the rest of it coming from a larger bank as the co-lending partner to be the way forward. And this starting with a non-bank finance company, taking a proprietary risk with their private capital, building a principal business, and then extending that into a principal and agency structure through co-lending is the path that we certainly see for sectors like this. So, this is where I pause. A lot to do, a lot is possible to do, and we continue to be open and keep chugging in this direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Anil. Thank you for being very concise and but very effective as always. And I know that you're doing cash flow-based financing a lot more. Your connectivity to the farmer, understanding of the risks of the value chain there. That's what takes you away or differentiates you from the others. I think the key question is this paranoia which is there in the bankers, that they don't understand the risk and they don't finance. Therefore, has to go away. Now, one thing which you mentioned, that you are connecting with, you're forging partnerships, you're taking the initial risk, so to say, demonstrating the credibility of a particular stream, and then take to bankers. That's where I have a little bit of a challenge and a problem, because we have to move fast, right? So it's impossible to move in a linear fashion, that first you take that risk and then you go to the bankers. The bankers have to be brought as quickly as possible into the fold, because if you look at the government's ambitions, and not the government's ambition alone, the need of the hour, that you have to take the economy and these sectors to a certain height in a certain time frame, right? I always say that efficiency is a function of the time. If you have all the time in the world at your disposal, everybody will be efficient. So you need to achieve certain goals in a certain amount of time, right? For that to happen, you need to ensure that the bankers also get the knowledge and the risk-taking ability quickly, accumulated, assimilated, and inculcated in them. So let me stop here with that. Thank you very much once again, Anil, for being with us as always. And it's my pleasure to invite Mr. Jyotish Talukdar now, who's the director of Kalong Kapili Cooperative Society in Assam. Once again, a very creative, a very innovative venture which is set up with along with I think 6 or 7 of your friends and colleagues and partners as a cooperative, and they're doing some fantastic job in Assam. I saw some of the clippings and I saw also one of your videos on the YouTube, and I thought you were doing some great stuff, and having assisted something like what about 1 lakh families or something, right? And having created a center for aquaculture, some great stuff. So let me not take away all that sunshine from you, and please feel free to talk about yourselves, the society, and the great stuff you're doing. And you heard what are the plans and ambitions we all have for this sector. So over to you, Jyotish.
At first, I would like to congratulate PII to organize this type of wonderful organizations. And from the beginning, I was here, and I also heard the speech from Mr. Sagar Mehra, Joint Secretary, and also heard Dr. P. Selvaraj, CGM of NABARD. And it's give us a wonderful experience to learn from them. And I'm also thankful Mr. Sagar Mehra. Recently, I met him in the 21st November on the F of World Fisheries Day. And I also met Dr. P. Selvaraj in Trivandrum. There in the last few years ago, a seminar was organized by GIZ where I met him. So this is a fantastic moment also for us. Column-Kopili, my point is that enhancing economic and social development of fisheries, cooperatives view. I just share our experience, not only in the cooperatives point of view, I also add in the NGO part of view also. Because we started our journey as an NGO. Before starting the NGO, already I mentioned that as an individuals, I visited 15 days to receive a 15,000 loan from a bank, but I was not able to receive the loan. But as a NGO, we started our 7 friends and started our journey. And today we are able to provide loan to around 1 lakh families, around 20 crore from bank. And I am happy to inform you that till now, no NPA is found in our farmers. This is one of we believe that this is a point we have to think that if we are in a joint mood, if we can go in a joint effort, then everything is possible. In this program, we are working with NABARD in the credit program. NABARD was there, bank was there, Department of Fisheries there, and we are there. So jointly we work, and ultimately we got the result. As a result means that 1 lakh family receive loans from bank, and no one NPA is found in that particular project. Secondly, I want to mention another thing. Just I want to give an example that we received Kolongkopili received a loan from NABARD under UPNRM project umbrella program. The program was sponsored by GIZ and KFW. In that program, we received a loan 20 lakhs only from NABARD for 30 farmers to develop derelict water bodies. Under the scheme, after completion of 1 year, I am happy to inform you that bank came forward to give another 200% for that particular project. The name of the project was replacement of bottom dweller fish by freshwater pond. That was an innovative project. So first was supported by NABARD under UPNRM program, umbrella program for natural resource management, and after that, to see all the success, bank has came forward to give another 200%. Now in Bogibari village, you are able to see 200 fish pond in 1 kilometer radius. So that is our experience. Now just I want to share some things that already Meher sir told that the KCC is a key factor for this to for the program, especially for to become India as a hub for aquaculture and fisheries investment. KCC is a key factor. So for the KCC, uh, we have to we should popularize these schemes not only among the farmers but also at then among the bankers also, because some bankers does not know about the KCC schemes also. So we have to popularize these schemes not only in the among the farmers but also in the bankers. I also mentioned this point in various meetings also. Second one is in our Assam, lots of work is happening for support of NABARD, especially support of NABARD. Already, Dr. P. Selvaras sir said that under RIDF schemes, one good program is going on in Assam. Almost it will be finished in next year. Under RIF, the name of the program was Ghore Ghore Pukuri, Ghore Ghore Mas. Under the scheme, 10,000 family receive support for government under this RIDF schemes, and you will be happy that for particular for that schemes now the production of fish farming is increased in Assam. So that type of scheme is always welcome to become India as a hub for aquaculture. And I have also heard, but I am not in very much familiar about FIDF, and there is one my question also to Dr. P. Selvaras sir, the how we can involve the entrepreneurs in a big way for this FIDF schemes. This is also one question to you, sir. So we have to involve our entrepreneurs, our fish farmers in that particular scheme. If you see in grassroots level, that fish farmer does not know about Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada schemes. So how we have to cover them? So we have to cover them, we have to feed them in this particular schemes. So I also want to request our Joint Secretary sir that we have to develop some systems or some uh, develop of some system by which our village farmers can also apply the scheme in a very easy way, sir. Very easy way. So it is also a one request to our Mehra sir that we have to do something on that way, because if you see in our village farmers does not know about Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana schemes, but this I know this is a very good schemes and our farmers should avail that schemes also, sir. And uh, this is and we are also associated with NABARD since 2007, and we are implemented lots of programs for the NABARD. And I am also happy to inform you that under NABARD Tribal Development Program, we also Kalangopuli was the first organizations who introduced fish farming as a component in tribal development program. Actually, tribal development program is basically for horticulture crop, but we include first time in northeast region, not only in northeast region in the prospect of India, we include fish farming as a component of under tribal development program, where 400 farm families receive support especially for scientific fish farming. And from our and recently we have developed aquaculture center to give a proper knowledge or information, especially for the northeast our farmers. And I am happy to inform you that the farmer was recognized by ICR SIPA, Central Institute of Freshwater Aquaculture, as a aquaculture field school for the first time of northeast region. The main objectives of our AFS, aquaculture field schools, to give a better knowledge to our fish farmers from the from point of view of production to marketing. Production in the sense that how they will breed, what will be the quality of brooders, how they will raise spawn to fry, fry to fingerlings. After that, what mechanism they will apply for fish farming, especially reducing the cost. That type of all facilities are there, and we also receive a good support from farmers. So that type of activities is going on. Recently, we also received Best Society Award in the last World Fisheries Day across the country. Uh, this is we are working for the fish farmer, not only for Assam, we are also working for Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, and Meghalaya also. With a joint support of NABARD, Department of Fisheries, banks, and also we got some technical support received from ICR SIFA and financial support from NFDB, National Fisheries Development Board. Thank you.
Thank you, Jyotish. Thank you very much. And no doubt that we need more and more of these organized groups, whether it's FFPOs or FPOs or SGs. As you know, I think that's the way to go. I think when you have to develop such a sector, then you need to bring people together in a collective formation so that they have a lot better organized capability of negotiating with bankers, with other stakeholders as well. I won't take too much of time between a very, very illustrious panelist who's coming last today, but that's very important, and the deliberate Roy. So he's Roy Hayes from Norway. And the reason was that, you know, when you look at Norway being the wealthiest and the happiest country, or one of the happiest countries in the world, we also wanted to end this panel on a very happy note. So I thought let's invite you to talk about. But on a serious plane, I think what Roy is the CEO, partner, owner of Lighthouse Finance, and which is a very specialized group which is into arranging financing for all segments of value chain. We are rising up a little bit from the bottom of the pyramid and going up to talk about companies which are in the middle segment or in the higher segment. But you know, everybody has to contribute to the sector growth. And what Lighthouse has been doing, starting from Norway and in the pan-Nordic region, I think you are now in different parts of the world, in Asia as well. So India is obviously your another office established. A lot to learn from you. I think what I liked was that the catchphrase which is there for you is accelerating the future of seafood through finance. And there's no doubt whatsoever in my mind that finance is as important an input as any in any sector, actually speaking, and also in seafood. So, you know, I know that you specialize in structured finance, leasing, off-balance sheet, cash flow linked. A lot to learn from you, Roy. I think the floor is yours, and please do educate us on what you've been doing and what are your plans for the Indian seafood industry. Thank you, Roy.
Thank you so much for the introduction, and thank you to be invited to this panel discussion. It's an honor to be asked to join you. It's been very, I think, comfortable to listen to all of you. I think you are addressing the topics that we obviously have a long history to address in the aquaculture industry. And as Lighthouse has been developing their business model and knowledge through the early stage from Norway, when we were starting to work with the salmon farming industry. That was back in 2007. That industry obviously was in a total different shape than we can see today. That has given us an opportunity to work from a very early stage for an industry development, but also close with all the big players today that you can see on the stock exchange and farming salmon. We have obviously been focusing on aquaculture 100% because it is a complex industry and you need a lot of skills and knowledge to be actually developing this. And we think that we are just people, and to have too much to focus on is not the nature of a person, especially a man in Norway. So we said that let's do everything 100% to the aquaculture. We are, as mentioned, established in several countries. but it's the nature for us to be where the aquaculture is growing and where we see the biggest potential. Obviously, India is a potential big opportunity for aquaculture. You have already a good existing business, and we established Lighthouse Finance operating from Mumbai with our partner Rahul 2 years back now. But we have been in India for the past 4 years, working with different projects. So that is our background. But what Lighthouse is focusing on is actually what this panel discussion has been about. We have the knowledge and the background to understand where we need to start. And we always need to start with the farmers or the fishermen or the producer, because we are also covering the whole value chain. So it's not only farming the fish or shrimp, it's also processing it, it's also making the product available in the best market and capitalizing on the process and the value of the protein. And that needs a combination that we are usually saying what we try to do is make the farmer bankable. And by that means that we help them put their business model together in a way that the bankers can understand the value. We do that with bringing in the financial tools and a toolkit that are available in the market. And we have touched some of those into this panel discussion. Insurance was one of them. Trade financing, credit lines is obviously it should be a commodity solution for a farmer or in the industry. But it's also about putting a complete financing structure together for the existing company. And we are always saying to our clients, whichever country we are entering into, one of the biggest and most important part we also address is that we need to work with the local banks. And we need to work with them from day one, because we want them to build their skills for this client. And we are not trying to have an illusion of that people can understand the industry, the total industry, over 3-4 months work. We are then trying to put it down to this is the case, this is the client, and we are taking the bank with us and say, join us, walk with us, and then hopefully in the end, we will be joining together to support this client to the best possible financial solution. And we do that with every client because we recognize the value for the client that he needs to have a local bank. He needs to have insurance. He needs to have credit lines. He needs to have asset financing. He needs to be able to utilize the best practice in the market. And that is not the best practice in India, or for that matter, in Norway. It's the best practice from the globe, based on what we have seen working with clients all over the world. And this is also one of the values we like to bring to the client, is that we know that 10 other farmers has done this before you in different countries, and we can utilize that knowledge. That makes us focus on a way that we are always talking about, and you will probably be bored about this, but we will always talk about the circular model, the circular industry model. It's also to understand that you can't do everything by yourself. Even as a professional farmer with the excellent skills of farming the best shrimps, that's good. That's the best. That's where we start. But to complete an industry like this for a company needs to be understanding that I need partners to be a part of my business. It's nothing that I can only take on myself. And that is what we also bring in through our experience and knowledge from just on the technology side. There were mentioned ROS technology, rainbow trout. We financed the first rainbow trout or ROS technology in Norway 7 years ago. So understanding all of these values and the complexity of the industry is obviously what we are bringing into the market and into the clients, and trying to build this together in the best way. And our experience over these years on a global scale is obviously what we can bring to the market, and cooperation with partners from a governmental point of view, banking point of view, and other services that are available, or if they are not, we will try to bring them into the market, using our relationship with different funders, capital structures, insurance companies, and so on, trade financing, credit lines that are available in the global market. And that is also one of the things that Lighthouse is known to be for the bank. And I'm usually using this story to tell how we can be the link between the farmer or the processor or the trader and the banking, financing, governmental side, because we are utilizing all of this in every country we are. You can use that combination of everything. But I'm usually saying that my oldest client, and I'm proud to say that it's 15 years since we start working together, he was trying to finance a processing plant in salmon from his bank. And the bank said, no, we can't do it. We don't understand it. We are not getting our heads around this. And I said, do you mind if I go to your bank and sit down with them? And he said, no, give it a try. And I went to the bank. We went through the process that we know we can do. And 2 weeks later, we provided the financing for that plant in total from his existing bank partner. So this is a way of trying in a short term. We are way on over time here, but that is what Lighthouse is all about. It's bringing knowledge, bringing our expertise and experience, but obviously also bringing the capital into the market. We are funding a lot of different part of the industry, from fishing vessels to farms, raw systems, processing plant, freezer house, and so on and so on. So we have the knowledge. We understand the value of this industry. I'm usually saying just having a license to farm is 10 times more valuable than any land you are farming on, because that is the license to provide food for a market that is screaming after healthy proteins to eat.
Yeah, that's so good to hear, Roy. And I think the name of the firm itself takes you straight onto the sea, Lighthouse. So that's very good. Not many people would know that the salmon sushi was a gift from Norway to Japan, which we all think of being a Japanese, savory, so we all like it so much, but it actually was developed in Norway. Interesting. So I just have one question of you, Roy. I am a little bit confused. Do you have a fund pool of yourself as well, or you are syndicating, raising, arranging for your clients?
Well, we are doing several structures. We have a source of capital that we can utilize ourselves through our model. The model we are using on the global scale is what we have a name for, is operating from Ireland on the global scale, but it is using SPVs, special purpose vehicle, where we register an SPV in India for the purpose of one client. We will raise the money to our investors, put the money into the SPV, and make the investment into the company. So that's one model, but we have several models where we also can put together a combination different capital structures to provide the best solution for each client. So we are a hybrid. We are not a bank. We are a hybrid solution where we can use bank to help us. We can use governmental support to help us. And we can provide also the capital directly from Lighthouse Finance SPV structure from Ireland.
All right. Thank you. So I think, unfortunately, we will not have time for Q&A because I think we are 15 minutes behind schedule anyway. So we'll have to stop here. But at the same time, before I do that, and before I thank all the panelists, I think for Mr. Mehra and for Dr. Selvaraj, I think you have lots of people here who could volunteer to actually get on to your training institution and get bankers together there and actually train them up. That's very important. Financial literacy, awareness, that's as important as actually the money on the table. So I think you please do that. You have Roy here who can do that. You heard Arpan here from his company, and of course all of us in my own small way. I'm also available, and as well as because I come from Rabobank and we have done just this all our lives. So I think somewhere along the way we can all pull in just to ensure that we bring up to speed our banking community. Then only it will work. Otherwise, it won't work. That's important. Yes. So thank you once again, all the eminent panelists and Dr. Selvaraj, Mr. Mehra, and we have then Arpan and Anil, of course, Jyotish, and finally Roy. I think thank you very much. We had so much of excellent speeches from you and so much of facts and figures. I'm sure the participants learned a lot. And I'm sure you're going to get lots of questions and lots of queries and requests for that matter. So let me hand it over back to CII for the last comments and then we close this session.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Srivastava, for moderating a wonderful session. I hope all the participants will have got a lot of knowledge about the credit and finance availability to the fishery sector. We'll definitely arrange follow-up sessions with the NABARD and Department of Fisheries across the state to take it forward. So please do reach out to CII wherever you want help. We will facilitate that through email and one-to-one interaction. Now we can meet Mr. Mehra through video call anytime he is available. Also, Dr. Balaji, thank you so much for joining the session. I would also take an opportunity to thank all the panelists, especially Mr. Sagar Mehra, for taking out his time since morning for all the sessions throughout. Thank you so much, sir. I would also take this opportunity to thank NFTB and MPEDA for supporting this conference, and also World Fish and our sponsors, Waterbase and Gademarai. Thank you so much. Thank you, panelists, once again from CII. Look forward to your participation in the next session, which is already started. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.